Welcome, guys. We're going to go through a day in my life when it comes to an average push day. So today is push. We're going to be going to Iron Revolution and hitting it there. We're going to look at my pre-workout meal. We're going to go over my whole entire push day when we're training in Iron. Afterwards, we're going to shoot a Q&A at the house, go through some commonly asked questions that lots of new bodybuilders kind of experience. But let's go look at my pre-workout meal before we head out. So right here we have our pre-workout meal. Nothing too crazy. I'm still in a growing phase. My food's not stupid high by any means. So I got 80 grams of cream of rice. I have 15 grams of nut butter. I had 50 grams of dried fruit, which is not here. And I had a scoop of whey. So roughly 25 grams of protein. I think it's like 100 carbs total and only 10 grams of fat. Now, I don't live really close to Iron. I live about 40 minutes away. So I normally eat this meal roughly like 10 or 15 minutes before I leave, because I roughly have a 40-minute drive. I get to the gym, I warm up for 15, 20 minutes. So it's pretty much an hour to 90 minutes before I actually start my lift. Now, today we are hitting push. So my day is pretty short when it comes to my push day. It's 3 compound movements. Then I have 2 isolation movements, do a tricep movement, and kind of call it a day. But we're going to eat this meal real quick, go for our drive, and then get ready for our actual lift. For those who've never had pistachio butter, this shit is absolutely insane. It's like eating a Dubai cake. I'm using the Flavor Gang brownie batter cream of rice. It forms this really cool crust on it. I don't know if you can see that over there. But it's so unique compared to a lot of the other ones. Because a lot of them use like xanthan gum or some type of guar to really hold together and make it thick. So I don't think it really makes this crust. But again, the pistachio butter, I wish I had coconut. Like, coconut flakes on top, would have put this over the top for sure.
Yeah, it would be delicious.
Right?
Yeah.
What's that? What are the flakes in the Dubai cakes?
They have like a weird
Flakes?
Yeah, they're like the...
they're like actually like a noodle. I forget what that
Yeah. Gaddafi or...
I don't know.
I want to say Gaddafi, but I feel like that was a dictator.
Says Katafi.
I was right?
Katafi. Yeah, shredded phyllo pastry, which is similar to like a knife, which is... You ever had a knife, like the Greek dessert?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
actually, so Dubai chocolate is actually not even a real thing. The dessert is inspired by a Turkish thing that's similar to that Greek.
I believe it. Yeah.
All right, guys, so we just parked in front of Iron. We are about to mix our growth, drink our pre, and then go inside and hit some chest. Now, I'm old, so I don't jump right into my lifts. I spend about 10 to 15 minutes warming up before I actually get into any of my movements. So we're going to start a warm-up with doing some myofascial work using a lacrosse ball or myofascial ball to really loosen up our chest, shoulders, and traps. Then we're going to go do some stretching-based movements. And then we'll finally finish up with some activation before we move into our first movement. And our first movement is going to be incline Smith press. This is a movement I've been stuck at for a while recently. My strength is progressing everywhere else, but for some reason, I've been stuck at like 315 and 325 when it comes to my Smith incline. So let's see if we can break through that wall today. But everything else I already have planned out. So we have a Smith incline. We have our pec fly on the prime machine. Decline press on the Panada, and then I've been throwing in a decline fly as well recently. I don't think if I need to do that. I'll kind of base it based on how I feel. And then I throw in lateral raises, and then we'll finish with a tricep press down. So let's get ready to go in. So I have really overactive traps from being at a desk the majority of my day. So I start all my lifting days off, especially upper body days, with trying to relax my traps. So myofascial work first, because I am someone, when I press, I instantly want to do this. So to prevent this from happening, I stretch them out first or roll them out first. So traps first, then we're going to do a pec next. I also naturally have some inward rotation of my shoulders. So just from understanding about my physiology, I make sure to do this prior to all my pressing motions too. Obviously, it's not extremely enjoyable, but definitely has improved my range of motion. And definitely helps me connect with my chest better and stay injury-free. I haven't had a pec injury ever, and I like to keep it that way. And like the cool thing about it too is like the fact that it's like grippy like this. You know, this slide up and down the wall. I'm sure if you used like a lacrosse wall before, and you've tried to do something like this, it's like sliding up and down the wall. This like physically sticks to it. If you apply pressure, it's not going anywhere. But did a myofascial work. Now we're going to stretch now. I just do shoulder dislocations, so nothing crazy. Just slow and controlled, just like this. And after I'm done with this, I'll grab the PVC pipe and then do some external rotation with the PVC pipe. And then to do some activation, I actually just do an actual pullover with the cable, another cable, the band, as a way to really activate my serratus, because we're about to go into a pressing motion. That's what we really need to stabilize. We're going to be pushing some heavy weight. Banded pullover time. I guess it's not really a pullover, it's a straight on pull down. And for this, I put my hands in there. As I'm doing it, I'm driving my hands out the whole time, forcing tension outwards. Again, I'm just trying to warm up my serratus and my shoulder blades, because like you really dig them into the mat when you press anyway to create that stability. Go on.
So if you guys notice here, one thing that I notice a lot of people do wrong when they do these straight arm pull downs is they lean over way too much. Notice how Mark has only a slight lean. He's keeping that chest tall, but he's also not overly arching his back, because then you lose a lot of tension throughout your core. And you really should be driving off your ribs when you do this exercise. So he's pushing apart the band, activating his serratus, his lats, getting everything primed up so that he can really have a solid platform for his bench and other pressing movements.
Feel toasty now.
Good.
All right, sweet. So we got 335 on the bar. That's what the app says. This is why I'm so anal about tracking your lifts. I don't feel strong today. This is going to feel heavy, but that's what the app says. So 335 for 5 is what I got last time. So let's shoot for 6. So we got the Prime Pack Fly. We've done 2 sets already. I'm about to my top set now. The book says we got 265 for 11, so that's what we'll shoot for. My elbow joints have been killing me because I've been progressing so fast with this movement that I've been really like throttling myself, because my muscles can grow faster than my tendons can get strong. So like at this point in my prep or before prep starts, I don't want to hurt myself at all. So if it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to push. I have plenty of time. I have 7 weeks left before prep starts, so don't want to put myself in a disadvantaged position to not have a good prep. So let's see what we got. Now I do have these on level 3, so most of the resistance is the first half of the movement. So in reality, it really matches the strength profile, because as you get closer, you are weaker here than you are here. So the weight is heavier here than it is here. All right, so we're going to see how I look like post-pump. Granted, I am pretty fat right now. This is, we're 27 weeks out as of today. So, and this is, I think, the heaviest I've been since last offseason, but a little less fluffy than last time. We can thank Motzi and seasonal depression for that. Ah. Now time to eat. All right, sweet. So we just finished up our push workout. Now we have like a 40-minute drive home. So instead of waiting to get all the way home, we have a meal with us today. Nothing crazy. We just have 150 grams of carbs from cereal, 50 grams of whey isolate, and 3 units of Humalog. But we don't have a spoon today because my girlfriend likes to be hygienic and actually wash my utensils. So I don't have a spoon today, so we're using a fork. But normally I just lick it clean and put it back in here for indefinitely and then lick it again before I use it. I don't know. I feel like this is how Jesus did stuff back in the day, and he was okay. So you just lick it and then you use it. But, well...
Yeah, that sounds exactly like something a tyrant would say.
Ow, fucking... Wow. So we're going to eat this meal, drive home, and then run through a quick little Q&A.
How do you know when someone is truly stage lean?
So with every single class, there is their own criteria of being lean. If we start with a class like bikini, their version of being lean is going to be much more body fat compared to the class of like women's physique, for example. So with men's categories, they're all pretty much the same conditioning we're looking for, so the bar is slightly a little higher. So how do I know if they're stage lean? If their visuals look and match that of someone who is physically on stage. That's how I kind of compare that. And for us men, that's going to be being in the single-digit body fat. I don't make anyone do like an in-body or a DEXA scan because none of those things are extremely accurate. We can just tell by the visual. At the end of the day, the number doesn't matter. It's what the visuals truly look like.
How do you help clients stay mentally strong during prep?
So, like, the one thing about this sport in general is, like, your mind leads and your body just follows. This is much more challenging from a mental perspective compared to a physical. Because at the end of the day, you can kind of force yourself through the whole entire process. Like, because you're just doing things that you've done before, but probably doing more of it. You're doing more cardio, you're doing more steps, you're eating less food. So it's all the stuff that you already kind of signed up for and been doing. It just gets, you have a bigger time commitment. So yeah, it bleeds into all other aspects of your life. So like, that really requires you to kind of celebrate the small wins along the way, especially like during a contest prep. So that could be even just like obviously still progressing weight-wise in the gym. This could be obviously hitting new lows. This is looking at the visuals and comparing them back a few weeks just so you can feel, again, like really motivated with what you're doing. But like the one thing about prep, like people have to remember, this is a competitive sport. So at the end of the day, you're actively trying to beat other people. So like the motivation should also come from a place of competitiveness and how much you desire to actually win or do well, right? So it comes down to a mental position as well from like, I don't want to psych myself out and think I'm not cut out for this or I'm not going to look as good as some other people. That's why like staying off social media is like another really good piece of advice I would say is if you're someone who can get like worked up very easily, maybe like you also want to take a social media break during your contest prep. I know, like, it's cool and hip to, like, post your whole entire journey along the way, but, like, there's also negatives of social media. And maybe if you see people that you're going to be competing against, you're going to get discouraged or kind of psych yourself out and maybe think, like, oh, I don't look as good as this person. And at the end of the day, it just matters what you look like that day. It doesn't matter what they look like today or what you look like today. It matters on how you look on that specific day for those 10 to 15 minutes you're on stage, and that's kind of it.
How do you coach clients with demanding jobs or families?
So, like, when it comes to, like families, I don't think I do much different things. I just, more so for a lot of people, maybe change the frequency of meals. So, like, if you're someone who has a really busy job and maybe you're running around, like, taking the kids to practice or picking them up from an activity after school after you get done work, maybe you don't want 5 meals a day. Maybe 4 meals a day is better for you. Or maybe we do 3 meals and a shake. Like, the people like that, I normally aren't going to say, like, hey, you're in a position to compete. Because I would like to be able to be more, not flexible by meals, but be able to feed you more frequently, especially with training days, if you're someone who has the aspiration of competing. But for my lifestyle people, we can make a lot of adjustment when it comes to meal timing. And that's normally one of the big things that is the biggest challenge for people who work really demanding hours. The other thing is, like, how often you have to train. If you're someone who's a lifestyle client, I don't mind you training 4 times a week. We can get plenty of things done. If we're someone who's competing, I probably would obviously more so incline us to work out 5 times a week. But maybe we can have a split that is a little bit more, how do I want to put it, a little efficient based on what we're doing. So if you do miss a day, you can kind of get right back on track. And we can also always migrate activity, right? Like, I know we don't say, like, steps replace cardio completely from a health perspective, but if you really don't have the time to spend as much time we need on the treadmill or the Stairmaster, we can push up step count, especially if you have a job where you can walk around kind of all you want. It's a great way for you to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
What's your approach to post-show rebound control?
So a really cool thing about nowadays, we now have Retatrutide, Jesus. As a super helpful GLP, and the concept it will keep you very sensitive, and it will help you with your food demands and your food noise. A lot of people have really strong food noise post-show, which forces them, let's not use the word force, which causes them to eat more frequently off plan, maybe binge slightly. This will calm down that food noise a lot to make sure that they can follow a plan a little easier. That's one thing I say is helpful for those who don't have amazing discipline. If you're the client that has cheated in contest prep, you may end up cheat post-show. Might be a good peptide for you to look into. The next thing is, if you're one of my enhanced clients, we are normally trying to use this time to capitalize on muscle gain. You're in a really good situation for you to slap on a bunch of muscle fairly quickly. If we nail a rebound and we keep you in a somewhat lean position while growing over the next 8 weeks, we can put you in a whole different position than you were before and bring you all back up to your pre-prep weight with a look that you didn't have before. So who says that you can't be like 30 pounds up 8 weeks post-show and look like a whole different bodybuilder? So for my enhanced people, I'm using this as a push, as a place to push from, and we may check in more frequently to make sure that the weight and visuals are continuing to go up. So, well, my natural people, it's a lot different. We use this time to slowly reverse diet up because the hormones are normally in a disadvantaged position from the whole entire contest prep. For like men and women, it takes them almost like 60 days in some situations for the hormones to get back in the same position they were prior to prep. So in theory, some men are like post-show are at 100 nanograms of testosterone, so it's not in the best position hormonally to build muscle from. So you're pretty much bringing those people back to a point of homeostasis and slowly building up their BMR over the next few weeks. And then when you get to a position, maybe 8 or 9 weeks post-show, maybe you can get more aggressive with pushing food up. But again, this is a natural person. So necessarily force-feeding them more food is not going to lead to more growth as a person who's enhanced, where I can use things like insulin and GH to ensure that we're slapping on slabs of tissue.
How does training or exercise selection change during a prep as clients get leaner?
So the only thing I really change when it comes to an exercise selection standpoint would be moving to possibly less fatiguing movements. So let's say like you had conventional deadlift in your plan. Well, all right, maybe from burying cardio over and over again, your legs are taking a big hit and maybe you're getting some low back pain. So instead of us doing a conventional deadlift, maybe we were doing this for erectors. We're going to move you to just a back extension. And that'd be a great way to reduce some fatigue and move to a safer movement that you have the less odds of possibly being injured as contest prep keeps progressing.
Yeah, and I notice a lot of clients too, they complain about like joint pain because of the excess cardio that they're doing. So changing the exercises can help alleviate some of that joint pain because of how much cardio you're doing.
Yes, totally.
How do you handle client check-ins that feel emotional or discouraging?
So I have something on my check-ins called the bitching box, and it is a place for clients to mentally or literally dump all their frustrations over the course of the week. I want you to almost mindlessly do it, like a word vomit almost. And like when people coming in with a bad negative mindset, we need to often reframe what's kind of going on. So kind of rephrase what's going on in a way and put a different spin on it. Because a lot of people will kind of approach things with a very negative mindset off the rip. And they almost take a lot more blame than what they actually should. So sometimes in some situations, you kind of have to give yourself some grace, take a step back and reassess what's going on. And when you kind of do that, you normally look at things with a slightly different perspective. So you have the ability to kind of learn from that mistake, whatever that may or may not be, and then move forward from there. But when we're framing with a lot of clients, what we're talking about is where are they now, where do they start, and where they want to go. Because a lot of people get discouraged if they don't feel like they've made enough progress or haven't moved fast enough. But people don't only see themselves every single day, right? So like they don't always see the physical changes as fast as other people do. So taking a few steps back and really analyzing the journey they've already been on, and they should be proud of that already, is a great place to start.
When clients come to you looking to be coached by you, what's your coaching non-negotiable?
Honestly, my coaching non-negotiable is simply be coachable, right? It's one of those things that this is a relationship. This is kind of what it is. It's not just a business transaction. And by relationship, I mean that we're going to talk very frequently. I'm going to learn parts about you because during your check-in, you're going to tell me about things that are happening. And you're going to learn parts about me over the course of the relationship as well. And if you're not someone who can physically take ownership of things or physically not listen to the advice that you're paying for, it makes the relationship so much more weird, right? There's going to be this weird energy. If every single time I send you a piece of advice to change or tweak or adjust, and you say, no, I don't want to do that, and don't really give me a rhyme or reason, well, it makes the relationship weird, and it's a relationship I don't want to be in per se, right? So like, I'd rather not work with a person who's going to be combative and not going to take my advice that they're physically paying for, compared to be there, it being a really weird vibe all the time and taking the money each month.
How do you adjust macros during a stall, or do you manipulate cardio in a certain way? Or how does it depend on what part of the prep you're in? Like, say the early stages of prep when you're 16 to 12 weeks out, how would you change your approach from 12 weeks out and under?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. So, well, the biggest thing I would say is it depends where their food is now compared to where their food was, right? So if I've already taken away a big chunk of their food and we're in a stalled position, I'm probably less inclined to take away more food because we've already taken away a big chunk. So maybe we should increase activity. Now, it all depends also where activity is, right? If we are 16 weeks out and activity is already at like 45 to an hour a day, well, I don't know if I want to push activity more because I don't want to beat the fuck out of our legs because that's going to end up interfering with training to some capacity over time. So in those situations, I'd rather pull down food. And maybe I only pull down food on the rest days more. And because they're not as active on those days, it's not going to greatly impact training because they're not training those days. And I can probably just keep all the food as it has been around the workout to ensure that training performance is great. So big variables to look at is where their food is at now compared to where it was, where their activity is now compared to where it was. And is that activity high for how far you're out? Is that food low for how far you are out? Now, unfortunately, some people just have to dig. It's kind of the name of the game. There's some people who need to go into a deeper deficit to see big, massive fat loss, right? I'm one of those people. My food always gets sub 1,800 calories every prep, just because my body fights a lot along the way, and just the pill you kind of have to accept. And So not everyone's going to be moving on the same path. So if you see someone who's possibly still eating 3,000 calories at 10 weeks out, don't think you're doing something wrong. You just have a different body than they do. That's just, unfortunately, a part of the sport. But what also makes the sport really cool as well is that everyone's journey is very unique. And it doesn't mean anyone's doing anything wrong. It's just that you're all in different bodies.
How do you coach someone who's doing everything right but not leaning out?
So you guys could miss the everything right part. So by everything right, we're assuming they're not doing everything right. Because unfortunately, in some situations, you can only take away so much food, and someone shouldn't mathematically lose weight. There's a point that something's happening that someone's not telling us, and there's a couple ways that you can approach this. Normally, I try to be as direct as possible and just ask the question repeatedly in different ways. Hey, is there anything that you're doing that happens to be off plan? Could you walk me through an average day of you following the plan? Could you talk me through how you're doing your cardio? Because there has to be a disconnect somewhere, right? Some people have to suffer. I will agree to that, but there is some point in the equation where it doesn't make sense. If we're maintaining weight at 1,600 and now we're at 1,100 and we're not seeing any weight loss, there is something that is happening that you're not telling me about or you don't understand. I'm not saying someone's always purposely doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just simply just not understanding what to do or the repercussions of something. I'll give a prime example. In my plan, I have my clients weigh their potatoes pre-cooked if they're going to air fry them, strictly because how much weight they lose in the cooking process. Because in reality, if you put 300 grams of potatoes in the air fryer and you cook it for like 20 minutes, you're losing a very large percentage of that. You have like 150 grams afterwards. So you're eating way more actual weight of potatoes than you think you are. So it's a great way to overeat potatoes by accident based on how your coach kind of writes your weights for your plan. So I found now this person was weighing them all post-cooked, so she was eating way more potatoes than we both thought she was. And then we actually corrected that, and then she started losing weight all over again. So it's not something that someone's always doing purposely wrong. There's sometimes just a disconnect that's happening. But that's what we mean by following everything. There's normally some piece of the pie that, or the puzzle that I'm not getting on my side, or they're not getting on their side. And normally just kind of going over everything together, we normally find out what the culprit is. I'll use another example. Those Uncle Ben's rice bags. If I had $1 for each time I've seen a client accidentally or think that is okay for a rice source, not realizing that there's oil and other carbs added into it. And if you weigh out the same amount of grams of rice in that compared to 100 grams of regular jasmine rice, you're getting way more carbs in there than the actual jasmine rice. You're eating like 80 extra calories per serving. So you're pushing from a surplus into a deeper surplus or a bigger surplus, or taking yourself out of a deficit by using it, especially if you're using it over the course of multiple meals. So again, it's not always a purposeful thing. Sometimes it's just a lack of understanding.
So I know a lot of people, when they're going to enter a prep, they feel like they're going to be very restricted in what they have to do. What do you tell clients who feel guilty for wanting balance?
So it depends on what that client wants out of the sport, right? And that's normally how I phrase it. I'm like, are you doing this show just because you want to do a show and have fun and see if you like the sport? Or are you someone who's trying to do this to actually make a career out of this or get a pro card? Because that's really going to be the big factor here, right? Because if you're someone who's trying to chase a pro card, you're going to have to do the things that everyone else is doing who's trying to get a pro card. And that's living a life without balance. And that's what greatness normally requires in any aspect. If you're Kobe Bryant or if you're Tiger Woods or anything like that, you have to dedicate a large portion of your life to the thing you're hyper-focusing on, or you're not going to be better than the people who are. And bodybuilding is a lifestyle, so it sucks up all avenues of your life, to what you eat, when you go to bed, what you drink, how much activity you have. Like, there's so many restrictions around it because it affects all aspects of your life. It's not just a hobby like golf or basketball where it's a skill. This is literally every single day you have to eat these things and live this way. You're not going to look the way that you're supposed to look. So it's, hey, if you're someone who wants balance, just accept the fact that the people who are okay with no balance are normally going to beat you. And if that's okay with you, I'm fine with that. But if you think you're going to beat the people who are going to live a life without balance and be hyper obsessed about this goal, the odds are you're not unless you have amazing God-given genetics.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, what's your responsibility as a coach when a client wants to push harder than you recommend?
So you have to understand why they want to push hard, right? And it's only because they want to get to the next level faster. And so a lot of times you have to kind of have them take a step back and analyze how far they've come again, right? A lot of this is, as a coach, is letting people understand where they have come from. And if they can kind of wrap their head around the difference they've made already, normally that allows people to kind of cool their jets for a moment. Like, hey, but man, like we put on this much tissue in 3 months, man. Like, imagine what we're going to do in 6 months by just copying what we're doing. There's no reason for us to escalate more drugs from here. So framing to them, hey, man, we put on X amount of muscle in X period of time. If we keep doing this, we should probably continue to put on X amount of muscle. And I guess maybe showing them that, or ask them the questions like, how's progress in the gym been? Because, for example, if they feel saggy in the gym and feel weak, maybe that's the reason why they want to push more, right? But I guess the follow-up thing is, what are this kid's actual ambitions, right? Are they wanting to push harder because they're trying to chase a pro card? Are they wanting to push harder because they're just trying to look cool on Instagram, right? Like this is the follow-up thing. And how far this person's kind of been on their career already. If we're talking about someone who wants to push harder, but they just took their first cycle like 6 months ago, the odds of us escalating, as I'm doing with some of my older gentlemen who are national level competitors, is going to be much, much different. My concept behind PEDs is I want to get the most out of as little as possible before we consider escalating. So I'm not going to just keep elevating drug dosages if progress is happening at the moment. There's no reason for us to do that. You can only put on so much muscle at a time. Like, you're not seeing people jump 30 pounds a year on stage weight for a reason, no matter how much drugs they're pushing. So you have to kind of accept the fact that as long as you're making progress in a very linear fashion and it's visibly noticeable, there's no reason for us to do anything else besides continue to ride the wave that we've been on.
Yeah, it's kind of like that old saying, don't fix what's not broken.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of coaches nowadays, especially with how competitive it is in the coaching industry, that some coaches feel guilty when they don't change their client's plan or do something. They don't feel like they're giving, that service to their clients when, if it's working, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And I feel guilty sometimes too, out of the same exact boat. It's just like, hey man, I haven't really changed the plan in 8 weeks, but like you look better every single week. And I don't want to change something for the sake of just changing something. It's almost silly to, especially if everything is clicking. It's like, all right, cool. We dropped the pound and you're up on all your lifts. All right, sweet. Awesome. That's losing a 0.5% per week. I'm cool with that. Or we're gaining 0.5 pound a week and we're seeing everything shoot through the roof when it comes to your training footage. Like, again, like, why am I going to change that?
I know you don't go online as much, but you do, go on your Instagram for your business as well. Is there anything that you've noticed or a trend in the industry that absolutely like infuriates you that you see? Is there anything out there? And misconceptions?
So I may get heat for this one, but I hate those videos. It's like, this is a realistic expectation of someone who's been working out for like 10 years and they'll show themselves and they're like, they have muscle, but they're never like really, really in shape. And it's their way of saying that like social media has hyperinflated the expectation of people. But like, I don't view it that way at all. I think it's those posts are like very coping based posts. And people just have to accept the fact that we look different based on our goals. So like, that's a goal of someone who's not trying to be a high level bodybuilder, or that's a goal of someone who's not in a cutting phase right now. Because a lot of the videos too, if that person has lost like 20 pounds, they would look much more impressive. So it's also like what period they are in their life or in their fitness journey. So I hate that fad so much because I feel like it's almost discouraging to new people in the gym too. Because it's like, oh, I only get that far in 10 years. Like, is it even worth it? It's like, no, dude, like this guy's coping right now. Like, you can get much farther than that in 2 years or 3 years if you check all your boxes and invest a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, I will say that when I started my fitness journey, there were so many misconceptions around like once you hit that 10-year mark as a natural, you're not gaining any more muscle. The muscle that you gain is going to be extremely minuscule. And one thing I will say, I've been training for almost 14 years now, completely natural the whole time. I noticed that as long as you are progressing your lifts, in whatever it is, whether it's making the form better, going back down to lower weights and then building back up, or just adding reps, beating your PRs every single year, even if it's not that much, just you cleaning up your form and being able to feel the muscle and feel the movement better than you did within those first couple of years of training, that can be the difference that pushes your physique to a whole nother level. And then just like you were saying, like, if I was just going to the gym, like, regular guy 3-4 times a week, maybe did cardio, maybe I don't do cardio, and I kind of put it on the back burner, not really prioritize it. Yeah, like my physique would look okay, just like these guys are showing online. But if you have, me, I think I was 7 or 8 years into my fitness journey, and then I really started connecting with my muscles a lot better. And I noticed my physique transform within those next 2 years, which was way past the expectation that I had ever had before.
Absolutely.
Where I kind of accepted, like, oh, I'm getting close to that 10-year mark. I'm really not going to be progressing. This is pretty much the physique I have. But if I look at pictures from 4 years ago, I have a completely different physique.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to also catch me and Jax live on Monday and Wednesday. It's all right here. And if you haven't yet, please like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, guys, take care.